I think Owen, from his very first audition tape, displayed this kind of extraordinary focus and confidence, and sort of as we moved through the process, that just grew. And he really listened. He listened to, you know, Phil's direction. He took that on board, and then the actors he was working with through the sort of workshop process, and then finally with Stephen. I think Owen was just very receptive and took on advice and really just sort of kept his head down and did the work throughout the whole audition process. And it really was kind of extraordinary that he was able to stay so focused. Yeah, that really stood out, I'd say.
There's a beautiful humility about those two wonderful people sat on that stage, and they explained it as if it was just one of those things that happened. Little did Shaheen say that she saw over 500 young boys, do you know what I mean? She scoured the country from the northern regions all across the whole place. She saw kids who had agents, she saw kids who had no agents. She went into schools, she advertised in, like, what was the one you did? Facebook Workplace or somewhere?
Facebook Marketplace.
Just for grandmas and aunties, you know what I mean?
That's where all the aunties and uncles go on Facebook Marketplace. It's amazing.
Exactly. So you see the depth that goes into the finding of the lad that is sat next to that chair next to you. Where she passes it off as like, yes, he came in and we did it. No. She scoured the land. And for that young man, you know, his ability and his talent is I've said it before, but it's generational. And he has a wonderful ability and he has a wonderful technique of learning to be able to tell the truth. And then that was how it happened, you know what I mean? It was a long process, but there was the moment when it came down to that final chemistry test, and we had 5, so we'd whittled it down from over 500 young boys to 5. And 5 of them came in that room, and we met all of their parents as well. And you know, the way we looked after these young men, from Shaheen's side of it, and as well from our wonderful series producer Joe Johnson, was just wonderful. We had a child psychologist for all of them, who was amazing, because of the subject matter that they were tackling. But on that particular day, Owen looked at me at one point, and I looked at him. And I said to him, from now on, I'm your dad and you're my son. And he just turned and looked at me, and he just looked right at me, and he went, okay. And I just knew there was something there. And we did a little improvisation. We had the script in our hand, we did a scene, and then we did a couple more improvisations, and he left the room, and I turned round to Shaheen and Phil and Joe, and I went, wow, our kid's unbelievable. And that was it.
And I think we all understand, right? You saw the show, you understand. You know, Owen, as you just mentioned, episode 3, it was actually the first episode that was shot. And I mean, that's just diving into the deep end. It's essentially, it's a two-hander play. It's just you and Erin the whole time. Whenever Erin gets here, feel free to put her on the screen, and we'll just pray to the Wi-Fi gods for that. But I'll ask you, Owen, you know, there was such a unique rehearsal process to this show. You know, I think now that you've filmed other things, you know, like the preparation for Adolescence was very unusual. How did your performance, or you and Erin's performance, like change or evolve from like that first day of rehearsal to that last day of filming? And I think that they used the last take, right, is what we saw.
Yeah, we used the take 11, which was the last take we did on the Friday of episode 3. But the first day on set of episode 3, I just came in with my script, went straight into tutoring, and then we went on set, and then I met Erin, and then yeah, we were just talking about random stuff, not anything to do with the show, and then we did this like read through thing, and then yeah, the first day wasn't as intense, but like the Wednesday or the Thursday was when we did like the scenes, like when I'd throw the hot chocolate or I'd get right in the face, and then them like rehearsal. That part of rehearsal I really didn't like, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. Like the bit where I'm standing over Jamie, standing over Briony, and he's like, signal him away, like whatever he said. Like I don't know, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But obviously by the end, I brought myself to do it because of the help around me. Erin made me feel comfortable. Phil, everyone there on set just made me feel comfortable, and I was in a nice environment, so I was able to perform it. And then, but yeah, like our goal in episode 3 for me and Erin was just to make it different in every single take, and that's what we did. Like Phil would give me like little notes to just to throw at Erin, and then like it'd just be like random things, and then Erin would Phil, the director, would only ever give me notes. He wouldn't give Erin notes because he knew that Erin could handle what I would do. Like at the end, this is before the very last take of episode 3, and he was like, bang on every glass, and I was like, but bear in mind, you wasn't allowed to bang on every glass because there was only one glass you could like smack on. Because the others would smash or something because they're not put in properly. So I've gone, is it not going to break? And he's like, if it does, it's fine. And then I was like, all right. And then, so it comes to the end, and I'm just battering off Claudius, telling him to get off me. And then I've just smashed on every single glass as hard as I could, screaming. And you can tell in the end of the episode that it scared Erin because she didn't know that I was going to do that. And it was them little things that Phil would tell me to do that would he would try to put Erin off, which sounds like a bad director, but it's not. And he would just tell me to do things like differently every time. And you know, it was fun. It was like one of the best 3 weeks of my life, really. So yeah, it was amazing.
Go ahead, Jack.
That first week of rehearsal, we were sat in this room and it stank of sawdust because they were still building the police set. Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah. And we were in this sort of stuffy little room, and watching Owen take control of that character is the closest thing to a magic trick I've ever seen in my life. He was just remarkable the way he did it. And the way that Erin fed him all the time. I did a version of A Christmas Carol with Erin years ago, and Rhys Ifans was playing Scrooge, and they had this scene in the third act, and I said, every night is different. Why is it different? And Rhys said to me, because acting with Erin is like playing jazz. No. And that's what you saw between the two of them, and the fact that Owen was capable of being a musician and a magician at that age is he's just amazing. He's just amazing.
I think after the emotions cleared, I sat back and thought, like, the audacity of you two to write a script that called for that type of emotional arc for a young first-time actor is very bold. But speaking of that, Owen, I'm so glad you mentioned that last sequence in that episode when Jamie's being dragged away, because that was, to me, one of the most heartbreaking parts of the whole show. What he's basically begging Briony to, for her approval, right? Do you like me? Do you like me? Tell my dad. It was I couldn't get through that without crying. I wanted to know, for you, or also from Jack and Steven's perspective, the writing is so nuanced. What does this hour, with Jamie, where we're just sitting with him in a room, what does it reveal about who this boy really is, or what are the universal wants, the universal needs that we all have? I mean, it was so subtle, but I think it really hit something in people's hearts, and I just hope you could articulate that character moment.
Jack, I need to talk, don't I? So I would say that there were three things going on in that room, I think, for Jamie. The first is that he had a truth, but he didn't want to expose it. And the reason why he didn't want to expose it was two reasons. One, he hadn't accepted it within himself. And two, he really liked her. And he'd been in this place, and this is the second thing, He'd been in this place where he couldn't talk to anyone. And the thing about Jamie is he wants to talk to people, he wants to be part of conversations, he wants to belong. And he didn't belong in that place. And then this person, this young person, came into his life who found him interesting, who wanted to talk about him and who he was. And he wanted her. He wanted her, not in I don't think he was attracted to her. I think he wanted her to like him, and that is the literal last question he asked. Do you like me? And then the third thing, and this was the hardest thing to write, was he was tripping himself into somewhere, because of her questions, because of where she took him, he was tripping himself into somewhere he didn't understand. And he was fighting to get out of a bag. And so what you see in that episode, I hope, what we hope we show in that episode is someone slowly being starved of oxygen, and the only way they can get oxygen is to admit who they truly are. And admitting who he truly is destroys him, destroys her, and changes the whole tenor of the series.
Thank you for that answer. It's a masterpiece of storytelling.